problems in communication with Baba's team, but you can understand him. And so if you look at that matter, these people could be working also to achieve one end. They're pulling back directions, but they will call their teams and give them a brief. This is where we are. Now we have to do 1, 2, 3 things.
Yes.
And they might even come up and say the country is bigger than an individual. So we have decided, for the sake of the country, to have a truce. We support the current government, of course, because we know politics is a game of interest.
Yes.
Along the way, they shall have cut a few deals here and there. Who goes where, who gets what, that's what the essence of all politics. Then it begins again an election of 2027. Sometimes Baba can be very unpredictable. And the only politician we have right now who has nothing to lose is Baba. He's got nothing to lose. He reached the epitome of his political career as a prime minister. He enjoys mass support today. He has continental presence, friendship across the region, across the world. There is nothing that the guy lacks. He can decide, me, I'm not vying for presidency, but I'm supporting so-and-so. And therefore, if you're a president, you really would need to have such a person who can be able to pull a few says here and there on your side, if you ask me.
Yes. But just for the sake of time, I would have loved for us to pull this conversation. I want us to go into the next issue that we have for you this morning, Dave, which is essentially on the 2/3 gender rule, which, if you do know, has bedeviled Kenya since the onset of I don't know what to call it, the new constitution is actually the 2010 constitution. I want us to look at this story because what we do know, the president has already started laying the groundwork for achieving that. Let's watch this story, quickly come back and react to it before we take that break right here on the Morning Drift.
Members of Parliament are going to debate.
It is a forum that brought together members from the executive, parliament, legal fraternity, human rights groups, members of Fourth Estate, among others. Stakeholders brainstormed on ideas that will go an extra mile in bringing about the full implementation of the 2/3 gender rule that remains elusive.
Hii mambo ya gender si mambo ya wanawake peke yake, na hapo ndo mahali ambapo tumeweza kujikosoa. Tukiendelea mbele tunaweza kuangalia hii mambo kama ni mambo ya Wakenya wote, si mambo ya wanawake. Ukiangalia hii nchi ukiangalia kwa umbali sana, in the next 15-20 years, tunaweza kuwa tunaongelea mambo ya wanaume. So tuwache kuangalia mambo ya 2/3 gender kama mambo ya wanawake.
So one of the biggest problems that we have seen today has been political will. But now that we have the political will, His Excellency the President has decided even to steer this particular issue, then we have the political will that we require.
The material failure by the Parliament is that they have not enacted a relevant legislative framework to give effect to the principle that not more than 2/3 of the members of the National Assembly and Senate should be of the same gender.
The Kenyan Constitution recognizes women by way of creation of special seats for women that resulted in the election of 47 women in the National Assembly, nomination of 16 women by political parties, and 1 woman representing the youth and persons with disability into the Senate and county governments, and appointment of women into other decision-making bodies. The current government runs short of the principle by over 50 women.
Women and girls make extraordinary contributions every day across all fields of human endeavor, including in business, education, sports, arts, science, agriculture, parenting, and governance. Without this contribution, economies will collapse, communities would fail, and families would fall apart.
It is the Kenya Law Reform Commission and the Office of the Attorney General and Department of Justice and the defunct Commission for the Implementation of the Constitution, CIC, that were tasked with the development of bills that were required to implement this Constitution. I want to affirm that we did our task. All the bills that were required to implement the 2010 Constitution were channeled through the Kenya Law Reform Commission and of course through Cabinet, except one single bill, and that is the gender bill.
I would be calling upon our Parliament to ensure that this bill is resuscitated and it is enacted. Now, with those, if I was told to say one item that I would want us to push forward today, is the fact that instead of going and starting a bill, we need to look at what His Excellency the President has proposed. I know it has 3 items. We still have the CDF in it, we have the leader of opposition in it, and 2/3. It doesn't hurt to pass that bill so that we also attain 2/3.
The ball now remains with the President Advisor on Women's Rights, Harriet Chigai, who is working around the clock in ensuring the Kenya Kwanza government is abiding by the Constitution. It is a continued push of the gender rule that has not sailed through the bicameral House in 9 attempts as women strive to rise out of the second-class citizenship status. Stakeholders are putting a spirited fight to ensure the full realization of the 2/3 gender principle in the country. Cecilia Lubanga, Look Up TV at Tamarind Hotel, Nairobi.
Well, if you remember, this is one particular issue that led to the former CJ advising the president to sack or to close both houses, that's the National House and the Senate House, for failure to deliver on a constitutional mandate. Here it is again. Ruto did promise that one of his campaigns was to make sure that women are well represented in his government. And one of the ways he was going to achieve that is make sure that the 2/3 gender rule was going to sail through. And he did say in the first 100 days, but then it's been beyond the first 100 days, but now he's back at it. David, your sentiments on the 2/3 gender rule, why has he never seen the light of the day?
The president, at the time of campaigns, he promised that he'll have a balanced government to represent, with having the face of women and at least the face of youth in it, that everybody feels, and people living with disabilities.
Yes.
But we all know that the cabinet that he had, of course he failed, because he promised 50% women. He actually failed. He never achieved it.
Some people will say when you look at it differently in the sense of the PS positions, the CS positions, then
it still doesn't meet.
It still doesn't meet.
It still it doesn't. He said in his cabinet, PSS don't work in cabinet. Those are the PSC guys, they work in offices there. The people sit in cabinet are ministers. The principal secretaries don't sit in cabinets. The cabinets are sat by cabinet secretaries and the president and the deputy and attorney general. And that's it. They are not there. There are 50, there are 6 women out of 22. I mean, you can't have 16 are men. So even himself, he never achieved that thing. You know, he never achieved it. It is this gender rule thing. People can look at it from different angles. Of course, we need representation, but the thing is that there is no scientific proof that has given us a premise to stand on that says that when we have a balanced gender or whatever, things work well. Proper management. We don't have such kind of sciences. You see, government delivery is on somebody. You give me a work, I do it. Whether I'm a woman, I'm a man, I'm blind, whatever, I will do that work, or I will decide not to do it. Again, it depends on the head of state. He is the person as the head, he is the father at that time. Everything goes wrong, he is the problem. So if now we don't have a science that proves that when you give women more seats or men more seats, then they did better work than when they were, if they were not all of them
the
men.
The proponents would like to think
women.
about equal representation in a government.
What do you mean equal representation? What does that statement mean?
On the basis of gender.
Why?
So you look at community, you look at gender, you look at issues of physical representation, then you have that in a government.
The reality is that if you look at third world country politics,
yes.
In fact, if you could have told me it takes the tribal angle, communities, that could make sense. Because these third world countries, including Kenya, people are elected, are appointed based on tribe. That we can't run away from it. It is the naked truth that we always keep on putting our heads in the sand for or against. We serve in these offices tribally. Even if you look at the kind of appointments that the president is doing,
yes,
he's going against, not against, he's going along the voting pattern on how he was voted in. He was voted in, he got the majority vote from particular tribes. And based on that, you look at the appointments, they are on the same way. There is nothing gender there. I mean, there is no gender, there is nothing gender there. It is tribal. So what is important here, things that we need to put into perspective,
yes,
and decide as a country, either we need to drop this gender thing, yes, and replace it with communities. That at least in those appointments, a third must be the communities that we have in the country. That would make sense. Than this gender thing. There is no science that, because the reason why we have to put it, communities, that when you give somebody, when you make appointments according to some tribal lines, it means that those appointments, they come with resources. Resources will follow the same way. You put Luos in a particular nini, you expect that at least there's a chain of Luos who will benefit along the way.